Hello.
Hey there, Leroy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
That's
Can you hear
interesting. I
me?
can't hear you.
You can't hear me. Uh, Nothing
Can you
has
hear me
changed
now?
on my end. Let me look. Let me look.
Let me try come back in again. Hi, Leroy.
Hello. Is that better?
That's better. Just a minute. I got to turn down my volume here a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, just a moment. Let get everything lined up here. So, how you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I've got uh, transmission issues with my car, which are not making me happy. Other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Hopefully, it's just a fluid low or something or another.
Um, Last week, I actually took it. Uh, maybe 2 weeks ago. It was slipping real bad, and they rebuilt the transmission. Yesterday, when I was coming back home from going to get food, the transmission started slipping real bad again, and I was like, "This can't, this can't be happening."
Did
So,
the
so
re?
technically, it's under warranty, but hopefully, there's it just lost fluid or something, and he's able to fix it.
You see any fluid leaking underground?
No,
Mm.
it's pretty clean. It's a clean car. Um,
Now this is your police car, or
this
is
is
this a different?
this is the second cruiser. I don't know if you guys knew that I bought a second one. I've
I certainly didn't. Is this the one you were driving when we were still meeting in?
No, no.
So this is newer than that.
Actually, it's an older it's an older car, but it's got less miles on it.
So
Um,
this is another auction or what?
a guy up here, used car lot. He had 15 or 20 of them for sale, so it seemed like a good price. But you know how good prices
Yeah.
sometimes are.
So you swapped in the previous
Oh,
one, or?
I've still got the old one. I've still got the white one. Um, and it's a good thing because I actually need two cars right now.
Okay.
Um, the white one has 189,000 miles on it,
Okay.
um,
Hey, there's Jim.
which means it's got another 100,000 to go before it
Yeah.
should have a lot of problems.
Well, once you get over 200,000 miles,
Yeah.
things can get dicey.
Well,
Hey, Jim. Jim.
Howdy.
Hi there. How you doing?
Let me find a. Can you hear me now?
Oh
uh,
yeah. You're pretty dim.
yeah, you seem a little low to me.
And
The
Barry's here.
Evening, gents.
There he
Hi
is here.
there. How you doing?
Not too shabby.
Okay.
Um,
Jim, you got more light than usual there. What happened?
I don't know. Hard to say. Trying to figure out what's going on with my microphone. Hello. Just having a party.
Is that one
Party
built
day.
into your camera?
Yeah, the microphone I'm using now is built into the cameras. They say usually sound pretty bad. Do they sound bad?
Sounds reasonable to me. Picks up a dog bark back there. Is that was that real or somebody
Oh, I
else?
got to turn on the security system. That's somebody in the driveway. It barks when somebody goes in the driveway.
Oh yeah.
Now I lost my picture. I'm just following.
We lost Jim altogether.
Falling apart. Again.
This reminds me of the commercial where everybody's just gabbing when they're trying to get stuff done. Yeah. So the white cruiser has 189,000 miles on it, but the everything I've read about these cars is they should go 300,000 easy 300,000.
Well, it probably depends on how it's been driven too. Hey, Frank.
How well it's been taken care of has a big part in that. But the newer cruiser, the newer old cruiser, is a 2008, so it's a year older, but it's only got 76,000 miles on it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but it's also the one giving me the most problems. So
Hey, Frank, your green screen is
Green.
well,
It's
not
green.
all of it. You got a brown section over here. Looks like the camera's pointed past the green screen there a little bit.
The green screen is green. Up.
Oh, there we go. Oh. You're checking in from the Middle East, huh?
Yes, yes. Warm.
Just a little.
Yep.
So I see Jim is here. How's it going, Jim?
Pretty good. Can you hear me?
I hear you. You know, I've been having trouble
Oh,
with my
that's good.
audio. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Ken's here. Wow.
Who? Where?
Kenny.
Oh, there he
Kenny.
is. Okay.
At least he was.
He was here.
Here he is. Here he is. It's interesting. He doesn't have his video on, but we can see him.
Yeah, Jim. I don't know.
Apparently,
Jim's video
Jim's
is gone.
camera is giving him some problems.
Kenny has muted himself. We can't hear you, Kenny.
Unmute.
Unmute. There you go.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. So, Art, are you back in California?
Not at all. I won't be back there until I have a vaccination and it's been through the test period.
Okay.
We're not planning to return. For my guess is we'll be lucky. Well, maybe lucky. Well, it'll be a touch and go with March, probably April or May.
You think it'll take that long?
Well, it's a question of availability of the vaccine as far as I'm concerned. And frankly, it's safer here than it is there.
I've been thinking that my turn's coming.
Pardon?
Well, I just spent a week down and I just spent a week down in Fort Myers, Florida. And you couldn't, nobody seemed to be affected. The restaurants are open, the bars are open, everything's open.
Yeah, well, you know, I think that's more of a political statement than a statement of the demographics of the pandemic.
You know, you wear a face mask, okay, and if you keep away from people, you'll be okay. But if the state is open,
I heard they were giving out a lot of vaccines. I mean, they just sort of opened it up. I mean, they
Well, I
probably
think,
need to give out a lot of vaccines.
yeah. Well, we got to get the supply chain cranked up and the distribution chain cranked up. And anybody who've ever done supply chain manufacturing knows that that's kind of like driving a ship. You don't turn it on a dime. It takes time. And this is particularly a labor intensive process because you're not limited just by the availability of vaccine. You're limited by the availability of medical personnel. I don't know about you, but I want somebody jamming a needle in my arm to have done it once or twice before. Not just practiced on oranges, which is what you do in medical school. Or you used to. I don't know what you do
I think I'm
today.
gonna have to take a chance. When I got my flu shot, I went to CVS, and the pharmacist real good with the needle. When I get this
Yeah.
guy was in a hurry and he just jabbed it.
Woke you right up, right? Actually, I got my flu shots, and
Woke me
my
right
wife
up.
Barbara got her flu shots at CVS this year. And quite frankly, the pharmacist that I assume it was a pharmacist, not a farm tech, who gave me the shot was very smooth about it. I mean,
Yeah. Some people are smooth and some people I'm in a hurry.
well, funniest one I ever had was about 10 years ago or so. At Kaiser in California, what they do is they in the lobby of the hospital, they line up a series of tables with a nurse or whatever next to each one. And you walk in, you pick a table, they check your card, and they pull out the preloaded hypodermic syringe and nail your arm after swabbing it and so forth. So, at any rate, apparently this young lady hit a small artery. Well, when you hit a small artery, you get what in the oil business is known as a gusher. And I knew it was a problem because I was looking down this row of tables, each with a nurse and so forth. There wasn't very many people there. And all of a sudden, I see about 3 or 4 of the nurses go like this. What's that? Well, man, this thing was spitting a steady stream, a little tiny stream, nonetheless steady stream out of my arm. And I thought, that's interesting. I wasn't particularly upset, uh, but the nurse who had administered it was. I think she probably had to change her underwear after this. She was definitely upset.
I don't know. I was in the Army, and this was in particular in basic training. You just line up 100 people, and you have person on the right, person on the left. They give you 2 shots, and you walk up, and then you get another one. And there were people falling out, you know, and you would
Oh, yeah.
also see some of these streams because they would go really fast.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's where they nail you with,
pass out
so they nailed you with two at the same time?
at the same time in a hurry.
With the air gun.
The air gun.
Yeah.
Oh, so this wasn't a syringe, this is the air gun.
Oh no, this is the air gun.
Yeah. When I was in the service, we lined up and we just went down a row and they just pop, pop, pop.
Yeah.
And some of us, I passed out eventually, but others were just fine.
They had people waiting on the side to carry these guys over to, you know, a place where they could just rest and get themselves back together.
So they weren't using regular syringes at all at this time?
No, they use guns.
Yeah, it was some sort of air gun kind of deal.
So how long ago was
Like,
this?
God, 69.
Really?
They had no mercy. You know, they had, we got to do some stuff and got to do it quick. And it was one of the only things you couldn't get out of. I was a radar technician, so a good amount of the time for a lot of the, what I call nonsense, I could make myself unavailable because there was emergency stuff to do up on the missile site, you know. But that was one of those things where you're going. Because I was in the Army and I never had a license to drive a truck, because whenever that would come up, I would be somewhere else where I just had to be. So I could escape a lot of times, but I could not escape those shots.
Well, they want you prepped for wherever they're going to ship you next.
Yeah. And you know, with the flu shot, I always believed that, so what did happen? Oh, I always believed that the flu shots gave you the flu, because I used to get sick. Which is why when I got out of the Army, I just stopped taking them for a while. I probably was just getting sick anyway, but you know, it just seems like I'd get sick whenever I took one of those shots.
Those flu shots give you the flu in several cases. I've seen the like severance manual or whatever that they pay out for people with side effects from the flu shots. And I mean, it's a binder that's like 5 to 6 inches thick of what they pay out. And it's usually like 20 to 30 million a year.
Right.
And in 2016, they stopped making it public at the end of the Obama administration.
So that's the apparatus, huh?
Looks like it.
Does that
Now, can they
not
put
look like something from Star Trek?
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried.
So an individual gun only dispenses one vaccine, right? They don't simultaneously jab you with 4.
Well, they have a gun for every type of shot you're gonna get. Because I remember getting 3, and one guy on either side, and then you walk up again, and there was another guy with another gun.
Yeah.
So these are all in the arm, none in glutamus maximus, so to speak.
Arm.
Yeah, I think we had 6 doctors, or at least techs with the gun.
Those were med techs, unlikely were doctors.
And then you'd be
Nurse practitioners.
No, I don't. I think these are kind of some junior techs.
yeah.
They had no money.
I think we had a doctor. I think there was a couple of doctors in the room with them though.
Yeah.
Probably weren't doing
was-
the work.
Yeah, to be quite candid, if I had a choice between the nurse practitioner giving me an injection and my doctor giving me an injection, I'd opt for the nurse practitioner any day of the week, because I figure they've done it a dozen times a day or more forever. And the doctor, probably the last thing he shot was probably a naval orange in medical school. So
The doctor probably also feels like it's a waste of my time, you know.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, we used to call our medic, we used to call him Doc, but that's entirely different.
Well, Art, do you remember ever taking sugar cubes for the polio vaccine?
Yeah, yeah, I do. That was like when I was a kid.
Yeah, well, there were two polio vaccines. One was the Salk, which was an injection. The other was a Sabine, which was a little drop of elixir on a sugar cube. Um, and we had them, I think, a couple of years apart, because I think we got the Salk when it first came out, like in 51 or someplace along in there, 52 maybe. And then we got the Sabine a couple of years later. Why we got both of them, I have no idea.
I know that was something that people were definitely afraid of, though. Oh my God.
Well, they were pretty afraid of polio also.
Yeah.
I remember the mothers in the neighborhood were always, you can't go swimming, you can't do this, you can't do that. Of course, that's typical of most mothers. I mean, you can't do this, you can't do that. They don't say, go do this, go do this. It's always don't run. You don't ever hear your mother say, go ahead and run.
Yeah. My sons and I talk about that sometimes. I was free range, and my youngest son, and free range meant that nobody knew where you were. And my oldest sons, they were, free range kids do stuff. There's things that my younger son was into that we're just finding out now, He had this bike and he was just everywhere. I had a bike too, I was all over Chicago.
Yeah, I can imagine what it would have been like if some kid in our neighborhood had worn one of those little foam beanies like they wear now when they ride a bicycle. He wouldn't have had a problem with his head being banged in. He would have had his problem with his ass being kicked.
That was a problem in general anyway. It's like you go into, especially when you go into neighborhoods that you don't know. I guess I was lucky. And actually, there was these guys I used to ride with, and one of them was a good talker. I mean, if people stopped us, he would talk our way out of it. Very seldom did we just have to just start running.
So he became a lawyer.
I don't know, he probably did.
Or a politician, one of the two, or both.
I put a link to the wiki site about those jet injectors, those medical
cool.
injectors. It's kind of interesting stuff. They were around in the 50s.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That sugar cube, when I took it, I was told that it can cause polio, and it did.
It did.
So the people that took that sugar cube, somebody got polio all of that deal, and I was told that they would have gotten it anyway. So no big deal. Yeah, right. So yeah. dangerous.
I particularly remember the pictures. I never saw one in person. The pictures of the kids with their heads sticking out of the iron lungs, where they were in this big barrel that apparently, I guess it pumped pressure so that the lungs would work. Because one of the problems with polio was that if the electrical system to your lungs shut down, um, you couldn't breathe, so your brain couldn't tell your lungs. So, and I remember that and I'm thinking, man, that would be awful.
There's a really interesting documentary I watched last year, I think it was, about a guy that's still on it. They actually had to rebuild the pumps for him because he's been in it for 50 years. He was a multimillionaire or whatever that's still living on an iron lung chamber. It was a very interesting. But just finding techs, people that know how to maintain and repair one of those, is almost a lost art.
One would have thought they'd come up with a better way to deal with that situation since then, but apparently not.
Well, that's the kind of the thing I think is like it kind of went away, so nobody really, it wasn't something that people have poured research and spent time trying to find a better solution.
Yeah.
Actually, according to Wikipedia, the pandemic has caused the iron lung to make a resurgence.
Really?
It's smaller and portable, but it's prototype of a readily produced version of the iron lung. Compact, torso-sized something or other, and a full-size iron lung being developed in the U.S. Sounds like the pandemic, because there's
Waking them up to a lot of things that were kind of forgot about and left out.
well, history. Hey,
I thought that the COVID-19 though, I thought it damaged the interior of the lungs, the lung tissue.
Coats it with some kind of compound. That's the thing that's such flack about the hydrochloroquine, is because hydrochloroquine actually helps prevent the production of that compound. So I don't understand how it's not something that actually assists, but if you don't get it early enough, it doesn't have any impact.
I'll put a link to the wiki site.
What was the link you just put up there?
That's a funky link. I don't know what that was.
It's not blue on my screen.
Yeah, I copied something, and that's not what I. The very last paragraph, though, talks about. It doesn't say much. It just says apparently we're thinking about using them again. So
It makes sense, but that might, I say, the stuff I've seen where it talks about is that the issue I thought was primarily is it's producing a byproduct compound that coats your inner lung, so your oxygen can't get through the membrane. Once that happens, you're pretty hosed.
yeah.
Well, I thought these respirators that they were all so desperate about at the first of this pandemic was the replacement of the iron lung. That's what I thought. So,
All that does is deliver oxygen to the interior lung. The purpose of the iron lung is it's like a bellows, and so it does the same thing that you do when you do CPR for a human being. Basically, you force the lungs to open and close, whereas the respirator doesn't force the lungs. It just provides extra oxygen down your esophagus. So it's two ends of the same horse, so to speak.
okay.
As I say, it's probably kind of the concept too, why some of that technology is probably coming out of those portable air, for people that have air tanks or whatever, they need to hire oxygen concentrators.
Yeah. Those are actually pretty interesting for people who have COPD, and a lot of their lung tissue is damaged. It's a concept that seems to work, and they're getting smaller and smaller all the time. They're like a size of a lady's
Yeah.
handbag. Of course, those can be pretty big these days, but you know,
I've seen some of them get pretty small, and it also depends on how much more extra oxygen you need. If it's not real high, you can have a pretty small
true.
module, like an old like paintball cylinder or whatever.
Yeah. I remember years ago, about in the 70s, I was working in a company where we were doing a lot of chemical processing, and we had emergency oxygen masks. And what they consist of was a sphere that contained the oxygen, and then they had a face thing that you put in your mouth. And if you took the sphere and swung it out, it opened the valve and delivered oxygen to your lungs. And the purpose of this was we had a lot of stuff which, if you inhaled it, could seriously damage you. So that we had these things sitting around as safety and emergency and so forth and so on. I think OSHA would probably take a dim view of them these days, but that was
You
in
use
the
what
early,
it works.
yeah. Well, that was in the very early days of OSHA, and they were concentrating on things like this. Oh yeah, that's it, right there. They still sell those?
That one's dated 1961. So
Okay,
um,
yeah.
I was at an auction somewhere though, many years ago, and there were a bunch of those things available. Nobody wanted them, so
I don't. They don't have the mouthpiece thing on the top of them though. That's just the oxygen container.
yeah.
As I recall, that thing was about the size where it would fit in your palm of your hand. It would be like the size of maybe a large grapefruit, something like that.
Yeah.
So, Leroy, you got any goodies from eBay or?
As a matter of fact, I did. I did get a couple of things. That little, our time's running out. I got 10 minutes.
Yep.
That little do flippy right there is an FM receiver, FM broadcast receiver. Uh, Whatever that is, 87 megahertz to 108 megahertz.
Something like that. Yeah.
Um,
So this is a receiver or transmitter?
no, this is the receiver.
Oh, okay.
I got the transmitter a month ago. I got the transmitter to actually work, and it works better than I expected. This thing was a piece of cake to get working. I plugged it in and used the little library deal that they recommended, and it just worked. And I'm like, cool.
How much?
So,
What's the range?
this is the receiver, so it's receiving the broadcast deal. The transmitter with a good antenna, I was probably 50 feet from it before it started to act a little funky, but it is well below the legal limit of free transmit power on the FM band. So
Uh-huh.
that was my neat toy, which I have no idea what I'm going to do with it or why I wanted it, but there it is. There's that toy.
So does it have an audio output on it, or
It
what?
does have an audio jack on it. That's the only drawback that I can see to that is there's no volume control. So it's one volume.
Oh,
So
that's interesting.
You could use
yeah,
it intercom
um,
within a house. I'm in the basement. I could probably call up to the second floor.
yeah. Did you guys see that last week? I got that last week.
Oh, with the e-paper, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you showed that last week.
So I've been doing a lot of sketches and stuff with that. That's actually really cool, but I don't have anything I can show off loaded on it right now. Been trying to get a case printed for it. So we found a couple of STP files, which are not 3D printable, but they can be converted to something you could print. The biggest problem is the buttons are too small and the USB port, you can't plug the USB jack into it. And that's a problem.
Yeah. So it's too small or too big?
It's too small. It's too small.
So can't you just whittle it out a little bit?
This connector, when you plug it in, it gets blocked by,
Oh,
so my thought was just to make it bigger so you can shove the whole thing in there instead of just the tip, but so far. And then finally, I think this is the last thing I got, was this little e-paper from M5 Stack. And I just got this showed up in the mail about 45 minutes before the meeting. So it's keeping the right time, or it's pretty close to the right time. It's got a real time clock, and M5 puts a bunch of stuff inside of their thing, but this thing's small.
how's it powered? Is there a battery in it or what?
There is a battery in it. It's been on this whole time. The display is real low power, so if you turn it off, which is now off, but the display, because it's using the Z-Ink e-paper display, it's persistent, so it stays on there. So you could actually turn it off and still display useful stuff. And because it's got a real time clock in it, when I turn it back on, it should show.
Yep.
It's about a minute off, but close enough. But those are my toys for right now.
Hey, Mike.
I'll probably have some demos or something for at least one of these e-paper displays that I've got. E-ink or paper or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. After we come back, I got a primitive demo. I won't tell you what it is.
It's a tease.
It's fairly primitive.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah.
Last week you talked about these dusk to dawn light bulbs.
Yep.
And I went on, but you said the ones that you got you didn't particularly like, and you recommended the sun model.
Yeah, the Luxors, you can't get those. They were so bad they took them off the market. So the sun brands were better, appeared to be better. I've got 5 or 6 of those now.
Is that Sun or Sun Tech?
Let's see.
I mean, I looked on Amazon and couldn't find just Sun. I found Sun Tech.
There are just a few, 1 or 2 brands that do the dusk to dawn thing. So it's I don't know. Let's see. I thought I had a box of them right here. I guess not. Then I'll get one.
Oh,
There it is.
what brand is that?
Lexar.
Well, I don't know what brand this is.
Probably says made in China, right?
It's a Chinese
Well,
brand.
Not that good.
Oh, okay. And Jim's got one up too. Sunco.
Yeah.
Sunco.
Okay, Sunco I could find. I couldn't find Sun, but I found
Yeah, this
Sunco.
is the A19 is a standard light bulb.
Sunco, isn't that
Yeah.
a gas station?
Sunoco is.
It's Sunoco. Are they still
Yeah.
around?
Yep.
So you think the Suncos are the most reliable, Jim?
So far, I would read I read through all the notes on them, and it looked like they're not super 100%, but they're like 90%. Looked like they were pretty good. And so far, I've got like 10 of them, a dozen of them, and haven't had trouble with any of them. So far, so good.
Are they pretty clean in terms of cutting off and turning on and so forth and so on, rather than this business of
Yeah,
flickering?
I've not had any trouble with that on even the Luxors. I didn't have that trouble. The Luxors just failed to work after a year.
30 seconds.
No, a year.
No, 30 seconds.
25 seconds.
All right. I will start the other meeting here very, very shortly and let everybody come in. See you guys in like 8 seconds or so.
Okay.